Colleagues, welcome to Buckinghamshire New University and this really vital session around bridging the skills gap in the creative industries. To give you a few facts, 5.3% of Bucks residents work in the creative sector. That compares to 4.5% nationally. So again, this is an area that is where the creative arts are really important to us. Bucks LSIP reports new and proposed studios in Bucks around Pinewood expansion, proposed build at Marlow Film Studios will create up to 13,000 new jobs. And finally, the Bucks LSIP has film and TV production as one of its priorities, with skills gaps identified across all occupational areas where new entrants need more experience. So it's really important to see that college providers, so we're glad to see the college here and the university, we work in tandem with employers to make sure that we are filling those gaps. So again, welcome to this really vital event. Great to have you here, and I'll pass over to Carrie.
Thank you so much, Damien. Hi everybody, my name is Carrie Wootten, and this is an area that I am super passionate about and that I've been talking about for the last 10 years probably. So I'm really excited to have all of these amazing industry representatives and education representatives joining us today to have this discussion with you. I have two roles. I am the head of partnerships and growth at a small startup company called the Crew Room Academy, which is trying to see diverse talent enter the industry. And then also the co-founder of an initiative called the Global Broadcast Talent Manifesto, which is trying to build a global strategy to address the skills crisis, specifically in engineering and technical roles. But I know this conversation is going to go wider than that, but we might touch upon that a bit later too. So let's get started. And first of all, let's just do some introductions. Let's just go round. Russell, can we start with you? And you just introduce yourself and introduce yourself and your role.
Thank you. So my name is Russell Stone. I'm the head of School of Creative and Digital Industries here at Buckinghamshire New University. So within my school, we've got film, TV, media production, we've got music, audio production, animation, visual effects, and digital. So we represent a lot of the courses for the screen industries. Obviously, part of my job is to make sure that the day-to-day student experience is as absolutely as good as it can be. But I'm also very focused on strategically where we go as a school. What new courses do we develop? What do those courses contain? How do we deliver them? Is there flexible modes of delivery we should be looking at? And really what's informing so much of my thinking is conversations with the industry. And some of the things that Damien just mentioned, some of the reports talking about skills gap and how we address that, because I think it's a very important challenge and one that as an education provider we should rise to.
Yeah, amazing, thank you. And Jenny?
Thanks, Carrie. So I'm Jenny Craig. I'm Principal and CEO of Buckinghamshire College Group. So for those of you that don't know Buckinghamshire College Group, we're a college of further education. So every year we train around 5,000 people to go into careers, to develop technical, professional and careers-based education. So every year we train around 400 graduates who are studying creative industry courses. So very similar to Russell in terms of sound engineering, film and TV, special effects, game animation, etc. But we also train hundreds of students who go into those supporting careers for the film and TV industry, e.g. carpentry, so electricians, plumbers, hair and makeup artists, leaders, managers, accountants, etc. as well. And very similar to Russell, I think it's so important for me as a college and the college that I lead that we are very careers focused. So it's really important that we are responding to those LSIP priorities and really thinking about how we can continue to develop our provision so that we absolutely make sure that our students are developing the skills and the knowledge that employers need.
Amazing, thank you, Jenny. And Sonny?
So I'm Sonny Hanley. I am the director of the ITV Academy, which is a brand new initiative for ITV. We launched in February 2nd of this year. And essentially, the ITV Academy was born out of a response to the skills gap shortage in the industry. It was felt that there was certain roles at the mid-level, certainly, that we needed to come up with initiatives and accelerated training plans to get people into those roles. And of course, when you move people up into the organisation, you create opportunities at the entry level, and so we also come up with entry level pathways, or gateways as I call them, into ITV studios. I've been at ITV over 20 years. I started off in production, I moved into technology, I was the controller for content services, and now I'm the director of the academy. So I've done a lot of different things, and one of the things that I kind of want to talk about is how you move around your career and you know, navigate this industry.
Yeah, that's really important, is it? Yeah, we'll definitely come on to that. Zara, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Sarah Wybury. I'm the Director of Skills and Workforce Development at the BFI. You've heard our skills review referenced already from last year. I oversee all of our work that is focused on skills and workforce development in this current spending period. That's over £30 million worth of programmes that span careers advice and guidance for children and young people in schools about screen careers, right through to business growth support for new and emerging screen businesses, with lots of stuff in between. Our current flagship skills programme are our skills clusters. They're dotted around the UK and are focused on training local people to work on local production where we have production growth hubs around the country.
Amazing, thank you. And Jackie?
Hello, so I'm Jackie Campbell. I work for Warner Brothers, and specifically I work for Crew HQ, which is a brand new in-house training facility based at Leavesden Studios near Watford. And that's all about trying to address the skills gaps, like Sunny was saying. So we are focusing on all aspects of working in production, focusing on crew primarily at all stages of their career, so working with the senior, mid and entry-level people. We'll have an entry-level programme, and we're also doing careers work as well, where we're going out and trying to raise awareness of all the different roles and pathways and careers that there are in production. But it's all about crew. That's what we're focused on.
Amazing, thank you. I feel as though we've already answered this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, which is, do we actually have a skills gap, Sonny? Obviously, the ITV Academy and Crew HQ and the work that Sarah's done, like, it's all been around addressing the skills crisis. So it seems as though we do, but I suppose to just add a question to that is, what is the scale of that then? If we do, then what's the scale of that?
I think certainly when I got put into post last September, there was this blanket, you know, we do have a skills gap crisis.
Yeah.
But things move on very quickly in the creative industry, and I think there was, you know, it was well reported earlier this year that for freelancers, there's never been more freelancers out of work at the moment. So you would kind of question, is there really a skills gap shortage if there's lots of people out of work? But I still think that there is a skills gap, but it's just not a blanket skills gap. There are certain roles that it's very, very hard to come by, and that is just purely because, you know, in the UK, the production has just grown exponentially compared to the amount of people available to work on their shows, right? So what we've got to do is readdress the balance in terms of those specific roles, rather than just taking up all roles need people. That's not actually true. It's actually, we need to be targeting the roles that are, you know, specifically needed.
Yeah, okay. So the answer is yes, but in specific roles. Jackie, is that the same from Warner's perspective?
Yes, there are definitely certain roles that are harder to recruit for.
Yeah.
Production finance, if you want a way in, production finance is very, very hard to recruit for. And yet it is actually a really interesting role. You're on the production probably for the longest time, for more than anybody else. You're in right in the beginning at prep, you work all the way through the shoot, and you're into wrap as well. And you get to know everything. You get to work with every single department. You get to know how much everyone's paid. You know,
That's interesting.
you get to know how much everything costs, all the weird and wonderful props and things. So actually, it's sometimes more interesting than people perhaps think it is. And we do need to do a lot of work about raising awareness of that career. And also, I think the other problem, I think, is quite well known, is the fact that the industry has boomed very quickly. So because of our shortage of crew, people are getting promoted very quickly. So whereas it used to be that everyone goes in as a runner, everyone has to start at the bottom and work their way up, and that's just how it is, whatever qualifications you have. But because of the shortage of crews, people are getting promoted, rather than doing the time they should be doing at each level, they're getting promoted much more quickly. And that's where the skills gaps are really starting to show.
Okay.
So quite a lot of focus we're having is actually training existing current crew as well as bringing new people in.
As well as bringing new people in. Sarah, you're madly nodding your head as well. You agree with Sonny and Jackie?
We know from research that what's forecasted is a need for circa 25,000 additional crew members working in below the line production by 2025. That has slowed, though, to your point. Production was growing at a rapid rate. That has slightly slowed, so those figures probably don't ring true, quite as true as today, but there is still a massive below the line production crew challenge. And there is also, hence our focus on regional development. There is a need to grow local crew bases, which is why we're investing in skills clusters. The point about production accountancy, I think, is a really important one. It is where we experience our biggest skills shortage. And so just to clarify, a skills shortage is where we have an insufficiency of people who are able to do the job, that are available to do a job. A skills gap is where someone is who lacks proficiency in their occupation. So what Jackie's described in unhelpful progression and promotion too early is what is perpetuating skills gaps, lack of proficiency within the workforce. But if you take production accountancy, that's where we're experiencing a major skills shortage. There's just an insufficiency of people that can do it.
Yeah, and they're both really important factors playing into the skills issue broadly in the industry.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back to you about the other areas that we have a skills shortage in. But I suppose I wanted to come to our education providers, and Russell, let's start with you. Have you known about these skills shortages, and has that reflected in the kind of courses that you're teaching in the curriculum? How's education addressing it, do you think?
So I do know about it because I've attended some panels with some of the colleagues here, and I certainly read the reports. I see that very much as an important part of my role. And as I said earlier, that really informs my thinking about where we should be developing as a school and the opportunities we put in front of our students. It is, I think, Sarah, I attended something with you last year, and I remember you saying that if you look at HE particularly, we churn out a lot of graduates at level 6 and level 7, but a lot of the jobs are actually down at levels 4 and 5. And obviously, for an HE provider, that presents a real challenge. And I took that away and pondered that for quite a long time. And, because we are constrained in some ways about what our offer is, where we operate, and obviously Jenny's sector is much more familiar and expected to operate at levels 3, 4 and perhaps 5. But things like the HTQs, the higher technical qualifications, have provided a tremendous opportunity for us to move into a space that's level 4 and 5. And what's so great about those is, of course, they're aligned to the occupational standards. And again, from my conversations with industry, I know how popular the occupational standards are with industry. Yes, there's been some issues with apprenticeships and the rollout, but the idea of the standard, I think, is a great idea.
Yeah.
And so what that allows me to do is to enter that space with a set of key skills and behaviours that industry support, that are aligned to areas where we know there's gaps, and that allows me to operate at the levels 4 and 5, which we're being told where the gaps are. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
That's how I'm responding, and that's how my thinking is informed.
Yeah, okay. And Jenny, how about you? Is it similar for you as well, kind of looking at the skills shortages?
So it's a similar picture in terms of what we deliver, but I think equally as important is how we deliver it as well, because particularly in FE we have a number of qualification frameworks, etc., that we're funded to deliver, but actually it's how do we teach our students, what are the different experiences that we put around those qualifications. So the qualifications give you the knowledge really, of a particular job role or a particular industry sector. But actually it's everything that we as a provider put around that qualification that hopefully makes sure that our students are either much more employable when they leave us or much more ready to progress on to HE, etc. And I think the key bit for me around there is about co-design and co-delivery, and that's co-design and co-delivery with employers who are working in the sector. Yeah. So that particularly, for example, with the whole freelance market within film and TV, it won't be enough for us to make sure our students leave us with a great qualification. We also need to build in, well, what does working as a freelancer mean? How on earth do you brand yourself? How do you run yourself as a business, if you like, and how do you navigate those systems? So I think, yes, it's about what we deliver, and we need to develop that in relation to the skills needs, but it's also how.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. Thank you. So we've mentioned production accountancy. That seems to be number one. What are the other areas that really are where you think, God, there's a real shortage here? Sarah, we come to you.
Yeah, we know there are. So if we look at, as it is predominantly in below the line, although we do have some challenges in post-production and VFX, but if we look at below the line, we do have shortages in many of our technical areas. So in set construction, in costume making and specialist costume making, including millinery, is a huge issue. There aren't that many people that do it to a very high standard. Hair, wigs and makeup, really important, as well as the lighting and sound tech, grips. There's probably others that Jackie's familiar with, but camera operators, it's all of that.
Yeah,
It's quite interesting with some of the very niche specialist skills that you're talking about. So, for example, and the freelance nature of the work as well, and the fact it does ebb and flow, and it's very hard to pin, in a way, all of your sort of time, aspirations, effort on one particular area. So we were doing some work up in North Wales with a production, and we found a local armourer who always really wanted to work in production, but he also had his own blacksmith business. Actually, he was a blacksmith, sorry, he wasn't an armourer, but we used him in the armoury department on the production.
Amazing.
And it was brilliant. And he then, once the production then moved out of town, he went back to his blacksmithing business. And to have the two is absolutely brilliant. So if you're going to develop some niche skills, it's quite good to sort of think about how else you might better use those, so you're not just relying on production.
Yeah, and that comes back to the skills clusters, right, as well, around the UK, like utilising where all of that talent is locally as well.
And actually, Jackie makes a really valuable point, because, you know, jewellery makers, for example, that make costume jewellery for film and television might also be high-end jewellery makers, you know, outside of that environment, and that applies to the millinery, the costume making, etc. And so it is about the transferability of the skill as well, I think.
Yeah, okay. So Sunny, you've touched on about how ITV Academy was set up to address the skills need. So what exactly is ITV delivering in order to kind of target these specific skills areas that we're seeing that we've got a shortage in?
So, I mean, just production finance is one that...
That's going to be the running theme on this panel today. Production finance, everybody.
I suggest everybody changes their course to production finance. But, you know, we launched an initiative early this year to bring in 6 trainee finance assistants to bring them into our ecosystem. And then, you know, essentially because of the skills gap, you know, skills shortage, you know, bring them all the way through, and so we're kind of doing something at the ground level for that pipeline.
Yeah. And so what was that people already in the industry, or they were new to the industry?
No, new to the industry.
New to the industry.
Brand new to the industry.
Yeah, okay.
But getting them in early, as it was, moving them around the different genres that we have, or we call them labels, our different production companies, to give them that. I always talk about accelerated training, and I think you can accelerate people's training by giving them experience on different genres in a shorter amount of time.
Yeah, okay.
Some of the skills are fundamental to their job, but if you can get them on different genres and different program types, you can accelerate their training and development. So that's what we're doing. And then we're also looking at you know, people that have been promoted into roles early, and making sure that they do have the skills by you know, working with our partners like Screen Skills to get them onto the courses. To make sure that they're not, you know, feeling that pressure of doing a job that they're not quite qualified for.
No, because that's overwhelming, right? If you've been promoted into a role that actually you don't feel equipped for, and that you've actually feel as though you've got a skills gap and knowledge in as well, that's really hard.
And it can be costly to the production as well.
Of course.
Actually,
of course.
Because if you have a production manager, for example, that doesn't understand post-production and how that works, and their post-production schedule, then that schedule is likely to go over budget, which could cost thousands of pounds. You know,
and equally, if you have sort of specialist hair and makeup people or jewellery people, whatever, they move up to like hair and makeup supervisor. They've not been trained to have those skills, to have those supervising skills and the certain systems that they've never had to use, because they're hair and makeup people. They're not supervisors. So it's that kind of training at that level of the career is really important.
Carrie, I think,
please,
I think that presents an opportunity for HE as well.
Yeah, I think it does.
You know, too often we focus maybe on the the new entrant into higher education, but there's a whole piece around upskilling the workforce and retaining the workforce
Absolutely.
in some instances. And I think the other thing we're looking at very much is more flexible modes of delivery in short courses around leadership and management, contextualised to the screen industries. Because again, you talk about people being promoted quickly, and I think there's a role to play in that. And if we look at different modes of delivery, perhaps, you know, whether it's block teaching, whether it's purely online, that fits more around the need of the industry and the learner, there's more aligns to the cycle, because as you said, it ebbs and flows. So are we agile enough to be there at the quieter points where people say, well, now I can take some training because the work isn't there, but they've also got to be able to then respond quickly. So that's something I'm looking at the moment, because I think that's a role we can play in helping.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah, go on,
think
Jenny.
in terms of, I know we talked about, you know, apprenticeships as a sort of package don't necessarily work particularly well within the film and TV industry. But actually there's a new type of skills funding called skills boot camps that I think will work incredibly well for the film and TV industry for exactly those sorts of upskilling needs that you talked about, where it's sort of potentially a 12-week type of programme, you know, mostly funded by the government, which is great, and it can be very tailored to what the particular film and TV industry wants, which I think will really help. And also the point I wanted to make about people looking beyond horizons. So, for example, carpenters, hair and makeup artists, etc., to actually see the film and TV industry as a real destination for them and something that they can combine, as you said, with perhaps a business that they're running on the side, but actually they can apply all of that. So I think that's part of our job as well, is to really broaden those horizons so that people can actually see how they can apply the skills that they're developing throughout different industries.
Going back to that theme, Sonny, are you starting to work with education providers in this way as well?
Yeah, it's important, right?
Yeah, of course,
I think it's really, really important to, I think, initially make sure that what we need in the industry is being taught.
Yeah.
And it's not just the technical skills, but also the soft skills, studio etiquette, that sort of thing, so that when students leave university, when they're 21 and they're full of enthusiasm, they don't then enter an industry and they go, whoa, what's this? Because we want it to be almost like a seamless transition.
Yeah.
So yes, the academy is starting to. We've got an outreach strategy, which partnerships with universities is part of that, and further education institutes as well. Yeah. But yeah, I see that as being vitally important.
Yeah, and it seems to me that you're both going to be able to react in a really targeted way and tie up with the initiatives that all of the three panellists here are wanting and needing. Is that going to feel realistic, do you think, to kind of be targeted based on what Sonny and Sarah were just saying about government restrictions? And I know, Russell, we had a quick chat about this as well, just I suppose the speeded innovation, the technology, and then the restrictions around providing a solid and robust academic provision for students too.
Yeah, I mean, I like to put the opportunities that industry bring to us inside the curriculum. I think that's where you get the best and most meaningful engagement, but we're not always able to react as quickly as the opportunity presents.
Yeah.
So I think that comes back to the way we design our courses. I think it's the way that we look at modules, and I like to have within, a whole course, some that are quite structured, but there's some are structured in a slightly looser way, if I could use that term, that allows that flexibility. So if an opportunity comes in, we can put it into the curriculum, but it still meets the learning outcomes, and it means the students can be assessed in the ways that's possible. So that's our responsibility. But sometimes those opportunities will ebb and flow. So it's just making sure that we've got enough of them to ensure the consistency of the student experience. But I think that's, because you're right, we are constrained in so many ways, but some of it is within our grasp. And I think it's about to education providers to start to look differently and to look at the way that industry will need us to react and meet them there. And because that, I think, is where the real benefits come out. Because I think, Sonny, you talked about it quite rightly, the so-called soft skills, professional skills, for is what so much of the reports say is where the gap actually is. It's not so much the technical skills of the students, it's the other things, and it's opportunities like tonight, and there are opportunities where they're interfacing with industry in a much more realistic setting, where those skills are really sharpened, the problem solving, the communication, the negotiation. We do our best to do that, but you can never replicate the real life environment. And that's, I think, where industry really provides the absolute value. And of course it allows industry to shape our thinking, but also to see our best students at work.
Are you getting enough young people coming into your courses to then move on into the industry across the kind of screen sector courses?
Yeah, absolutely, particularly in sort of film and TV, sound particularly, VFX, games design, really
so they're popular courses.
Popular,
okay.
But also those sort of supporting courses as well. So in terms of, you know, construction, really popular. We've got hundreds of students.
These are ticking all the boxes.
There. Absolutely, and interestingly, accountancy as well.
Okay.
That obviously isn't specific to production,
No.
but there are lots of people wanting to go into that field. So yeah, seeing a bright sort of future in terms of the talent.
Okay, that's super reassuring. Russell, how about you?
Yeah, we've had tremendous growth on all our screen industries courses, game art particularly, but animation, VFX, film, TV, media production, really strong growth, which is really exciting. I was at an open day just this Saturday, both those areas completely stacked out.
Yeah.
Lots of very eager parents, and it's a great story to tell at the moment, of course. You know, there's skills shortages and skills gap presents an opportunity for young people. And it's great to be able to sit there and say to parents, look, it's a fantastic time to be joining industry.
Yeah.
There's plenty of work out there, there's huge amounts of investment, there's more studios springing up all the time. British crews are reputed to be the best in the world. We lead the world in so many areas in creative industries, and you know, you can't always say that about all sectors of education. So I think the message has got through. I think one area we all have to work together, though, and you're absolutely right. I remember somebody said to me, if you could get everyone to sit and watch the credits of a film, then everyone would know all the jobs in the industry. And I think that's a role that we all have to play, is to say, you know, you need to look at an entry-level job. I think the creative industry has always had that. You know, my own experience in the music business was starting right at the bottom, even though I came in with a degree, which wasn't required, but you know, you have to be prepared to do that, having invested in a degree. But I think to educate people about all the different roles and the new roles that are coming on stream, look at virtual production, the growth of that, and all those other areas. You know, you've got computer programmers on set now. And I think that's the role everybody has to play. And I think then you'll get more people coming in who might have thought, well, the industry's not for me because I don't fancy being a director or a writer. Well, actually it is for you.
And Jackie, how are you going to be working with young people through Crew HQ? Are there going to be specific training initiatives for young people that you're going to be developing, or are you going to be working with education as a combination? What's that path going to look like?
We're still very early days. We're still right at the beginning of this journey, but we will have a new entrant programme next year. And also we're quite keen to do sort of some careers work and actually, as they raise awareness of the careers and the roles and the pathways into the sector. So, and we'll sort of do that around particular releases and draw on those crews that worked on those shows. So that kind of thing.
Because there are literally hundreds of jobs, aren't there? I think this is a thing, and as you've all said, like it's a huge industry, and I think I don't think as an industry we're good enough at sharing that knowledge that actually there are so many roles in the sector.
Yes, but I think as well, Sarah and I were talking earlier, that actually everyone's doing a bit, because there's a lot to do. So, you know, Crew HQ is Warner Brothers' contribution, and then your ITV Academy, there's Sky Academy, there's Amazon Video Pathway, there's Netflix's Grow Creative. So industry is kind of getting involved now and doing their bit, but obviously with the education sector is required, so everyone's going to have to do a bit to make this work, and it's how we I suppose map all this out, and how we help people navigate all the different opportunities, and that's where I suppose organisations like Screen Skills and things like that could help do that. So there's a lot to solve, and not one single thing is going to solve it all.
No. And Sunny, when a young person who might be in the audience or might be watching online, when they're thinking about a career in the industry, what advice can you give them for trying to navigate this jigsaw puzzle and how to find the best route for them?
I think if you'd asked me this question this time last year, I would have said it's really hard to kind of get into ITV because we kind of made it hard. We didn't have a gateway to kind of get in. Most people would probably just direct you to the job site, again, which is very difficult for somebody new to kind of get into the industry. But what we have now is the Academy, which has created these gateways, which was designed to level the playing field. And so what we do, we have apprenticeships, traineeships, graduate programs, paid placements, and work experience all done through the Academy, so that it's very easy for people of all different backgrounds, because we're looking for a diverse workforce. The tagline of the Academy is to build and retain a solid pipeline of diverse production talent. And so we're trying to make it easier for people to kind of navigate their way into ITV. So certainly from our point of view at the moment now, it's kind of checking our socials, and we've got our own website, and it's the ITV Academy is the gateway.
Yeah, and what's the response been like to the Academy now that you're almost a year in? What's it?
Do you know what
So it's quite a journey, a year, and
yeah,
getting it set up.
And we've done a lot, but we need to do more. I mean, it was a whole new business unit that we were setting up. We need to do more stuff like this, where I'm sat on panels telling young people how to get into the industry, to make it easier, because it's the industry itself and ITV. The gravitation pull around people coming into ITV is less than it was when I first started.
Okay.
That that was the place where you wanted to go. But now there are a plethora of organisations and media companies and creative organisations, so it's harder for us to kind of get those people. So we need to be making it easier and more visible to get into the industry. So that's essentially what we're trying to do.
Now it's not just about. It's not just thinking you have to know somebody. You can get to know somebody. You can build your own networks, and then you can know someone who can help you get in. Because it is down to who you know, but it isn't. You can take responsibility for that now.
Yeah.
There's
absolutely.
so many open days, festivals, opportunities.
And also to something simple like LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
It's almost it's such a requirement of our industry now, and you're right. Like our industry is based on contacts and networks, because that is how you get recommended for jobs, and particularly if you're freelancing that we spoke about earlier. But this is why your initiatives exist, to open those doors and to reach people in
we want to
the
get to know
depths of
people.
Cornwall or Wales or wherever
Yes.
you happen to be. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We want to get to know people.
Yeah.
So I think I'd recommend anyone that wants to get into the industry to get, if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, to get a LinkedIn profile, because in my experience, everybody responds to a message that comes in that says, do you have 10 minutes for a chat? Can I have a coffee with you? I just want to talk to you. Or do you know someone? Like everybody, we're all here because we want to see.
LinkedIn is the key.
It really is, isn't it? It seems so basic, but it actually really is.
I'm quite surprised at how many young people are not on LinkedIn,
Yeah, me
or
too.
just don't use it.
Yeah.
We have an ITV Academy LinkedIn page, and it hasn't got that many people following it.
Yeah.
And I talk about it all the time.
It will have tomorrow.
Yeah,
Just anybody in the studio and anybody online, all of us want LinkedIn connections from you.
Absolutely. And using it in the right way. I mean, I do get a lot of LinkedIn requests, but just random ones. It'd be great if you got one that said, saw you on the panel last night, and I was really intrigued by what you said about this, or whatever, or have you got 5 minutes for a coffee, or but you just you just get loads and loads of just random ones. But I always try and point them to the ITV Academy, because that's where we post all our opportunities and all our outreach stuff, and we're doing stuff around. We're doing storyline workshops where we say, if you're interested in storylining, come to Emmerdale or come to Coronation Street. You can have a free workshop with our storyliners and our producers. So we have lots of opportunities where we're trying to engage with people. But sometimes I'm scratching my head, like, why is nobody really kind of engaging?
Yeah.
I think sometimes there's a gap between graduation and that first job in industry, and I think it must be very difficult if you come out with a large amount of student debt and you see your friends in other industries with regular salaries going out on a Friday night, and you're kind of thinking, well, I haven't been paid for and that's very difficult. The temptation would be then to give up on your dream, and I've heard graduates talk about this in other forums. So I think this is where I think industry can really help us, because we do try and talk to them about LinkedIn, and we do talk about perhaps the culture on set and the challenge of freelance work and what that might entail, and building resilience in, and perhaps financial planning when you do get paid, and all those things. But I think that's where industry can really benefit us. We use alumnus a lot who are working in industry, because I think it's a great story. 4 years ago I was sat where you were, and now, but anyone from industry coming in to talk the way they do, quite frankly, I think is what makes students more prepared for work. So it's not just about the skills gap, it's about having those other skills to hang in there to get the foot in the door, because
Yeah.
often it's that first one is the most important in the creative industries, and from there it becomes a word of mouth business because people recommend you and they like you, and you're going from job to job very quickly. So I think that's it's something we try and do, but I think increasingly the relationship with industry helps us strengthen that message because it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. And building those kind of professional skills is going to be is critical.
Yeah.
And I think from an education perspective, it's having that balance as well, isn't it? Again, like we've just said from industry side, is want to ensure that young people feel excited about entering the industry, but also understand the reality, because we know, as Sarah said, like it can be long and brutal hours, and just being prepared in that way. So LinkedIn, we're all on LinkedIn. Do reach out to everybody on the panel if you want to meet for a coffee, have a chat, talk about the different initiatives that everyone's speaking about. So make use of us, right? That's why we're
Absolutely.
here.
I mean, not everybody, I'm not going to meet everybody for a coffee because, I just don't.
We've just promised that, Sonny. You want to.
But what I'm saying is that there will be things on there that I
Yeah.
post that will be relevant to how you get into the industry.
Yeah.
There may be things that I repost that I've seen that says top 5 tips to make it in the industry that if you are connected with me or the academy, you will then see and you will then read. So it's not just, I'm happy to go for a coffee.
No, but it's information, right?
It's that simple bit of information that when I was sat where you are, and I was literally sat where you are, because I came to this university, we didn't have those things, so the world is an easier place to make it, and so you guys should be using the things that are there right at your fingertips, literally in your pocket, in your phone.
Yeah.
I think as well there's some quite interesting developments potentially on the apprenticeship front. Again, Sarah and I have spoken about this, but there's a new potential modular structure which is going to work much better in a freelance world.
Okay.
And that you don't have to be employed to be the apprentice, but you do placements for 16 weeks and more, and while you're on that placement obviously you get paid, and the apprenticeship is more flexible in terms of duration and things like that, so it can just suddenly work with the way that this industry works. So that kind of thing.
That's promising, isn't it?
That's promising. Yeah.
What about you, Sonny, from your perspective? Anything else that we could and should be doing?
I think from the Academy's point of view, we really need to execute our outreach strategy in terms of that education piece around the different roles that are available. I think people get into this industry thinking that they're going to be a cameraman or a producer or an editor. Absolutely. And there are so many different roles that can really excite people and they can build and grow a career, and they can move around, and once they get in they can kind of see a different career and think actually that might be better for me. So me as the director of the Academy, I really need to execute that outreach strategy in terms of letting people know what's available.
I think that's really important actually, not to pigeonhole yourself too early. That just get in, see what you think when you get there, and you might see something else that you like, and sort of keep yourself open to all those opportunities.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And Sonny, you mentioned this a bit earlier about your wiggly career through ITV, and we've chatted about that before. But that's not the case now. You're not going into the industry going, actually, you're going to be in this job, and then that's your trajectory. Would you just talk about how your wiggly career?
I think it's important that you don't give up on your dream. If your dream is to be a cameraman and high-end drama, then you should aim for that. But you should also keep your eyes open, left and right, as to what else your skills could lend themselves to, because there could be opportunities that are open up that you might think actually that's for me. Because when I got into the industry, I really wanted to be a vision mixer. I wanted to be in the gallery cutting for live studio. And my first job was a trainee production coordinator, and I found that being at the centre of a production was actually suited my skills better. And then I realised I wanted to be a production manager, and I got some experience as being a researcher, and I was like, actually, I'm really good at that, so I'm going to try and do that. So I was a researcher, then I was assistant producer, then I was an edit producer. And then I decided I didn't want to work in production anymore. And so I went to be a business analyst in technology. And the good thing about that is I had all the production, knowledge and experience to be able to apply that to technical workflows to help ITV go tapeless as it was then. So we were working on file-based projects. And then from there, because we'd gone file-based, one of my key stakeholders was a department within ITV called Media Transfer, which looked after physical media, and we were putting digital media. And eventually I became the controller for content services, which meant I was operationally responsible for all content flowing in and out of ITV and international distribution as well. And now I'm the director of the academy. So, one thing led to another, and I didn't get into this career believing that I was going to be the director of the ITV Academy, but I got there because I kept my eyes open left and right, even though I didn't want to give up on my dream. I made sure that when opportunities present themselves, I would grab them with both hands, really. So.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's really changed around the industry and jobs within the industries, that you can do that. And actually, I was talking to someone about this the other day, about film and TV used to be quite separate in terms of skill sets, and now you can do a crossover much more, can't you?
Yeah.
Are you seeing that, Sarah, as well? That
Particularly because with HET, film and high-end television, it's the same difference, really. But we definitely see people move as well between that and do you mean broadcast television? Broadcasting. I think we also see that too.
That's really good. And then from an education perspective, how are you preparing people for having these sometimes wiggly careers, and actually to keep your eyes left and right open, and just to kind of thinking about different opportunities as they might come their way? How is that?
So I think it's about all of the work that we do with employers, and we can do absolutely more of that, again, to broaden the horizons of the students so that they see that sort of complete range of opportunities that might be there. And it's also about focusing with our students on those broader transferable skills as well. And I think sometimes they sort of develop those a little bit by stealth, and it's about us supporting them to be able to articulate and really recognise those transferable skills that they've developed through all of the different things that they've done, whether it's FE, HE, so that then when they are looking at opportunities, they can recognise that they've got those transferable skills, they've already developed them, they can talk about experiences they've had, and then that helps them to feel more confident and open up their opportunities.
Yeah. And Russell, is that transferable skills, is that kind of a big subject within the curriculum when you're teaching students?
Yeah, I think sometimes if you ask students to list the skills they've learned throughout the programme, they'll think of the technical skills and the very visible applied skills. But Jenny's right, you have to say, but what about negotiation? What about problem solving? You learnt it in here, you demonstrated it here. I agree with everything you said. I think adaptability is a really important trait in all of us, I think, because careers aren't linear, even within a sector. Technology is playing and will play an even greater part. We're talking about AI, so I think adaptability is something that we can try and instill in students and explain the importance of it. And I think confidence is really important.
That's really
true. I think confidence to step into the unknown, to go outside your comfort zone, even within your career. And so I think the great thing about education is it's an environment where you can fail. You can experiment. You can still get a great mark for a module, but it didn't come out the way you intended, but you learnt from it. Because
actually, that's true in industry as well. That happens in industry. That's that these sometimes, particularly when you're talking about innovation and technology and that side of things, actually, sometimes they do fail. That's a really important thing to learn too.
And so that's a culture that we can create, and that confidence, I think, is then what stays with you. And as doors present themselves, to see it as an opportunity, don't see it as a threat, and step through it with confidence.
I think sometimes it's hard to recognise those transferable skills in yourself as well, particularly when you're young. Like, would you, when you kind of started ITV, be able to go, oh, I've got these amazing transferable skills? Like, sometimes you don't know.
You don't know, but I think I was talking to somebody earlier about mentorship and having somebody in your corner that can just kind of let you know that you do have those transferable skills. And I think mentorship is really, really important, to have that person that can help you and champion you, basically.
Yeah. Russell, so how would you like to see your department here in the university grow and develop and work more closely with industry going forwards?
I think,
what does that vision look like for you?
Well, I think we need to look more at the role technology is going to play and is playing in film and high-end TV production. It's not an area traditionally my school has operated in, and I'm hearing so much from industry, and I've heard it again tonight, about skills and talent shortage very much in technology. I hear it from the people who make the technology, and I hear it from the people who use the technology. So I think that's an area we need to look at. Whether that's via degree programs, apprenticeships or HTQs, I don't really mind, actually. If industry are telling me they need people with those skills, then I think that's my responsibility where I can to provide those people. So I think that's a really interesting area. And of course, there's lots of great manufacturers in the UK. We were talking earlier about virtual production. There's some phenomenal players in that area who, you know, can provide tremendous value to our student experience if we give them the vehicles, the programs to demonstrate that. So that's an area I think we'll look at pretty much in terms of where I think future opportunities are.
And Jenny, how about you? What does that kind of vision look like for your work with industry going forwards over the next year or so?
So I think a couple of things. I mean, it goes back to that co-design, co-delivery. So in really trying to understand what those programs need to look like outside of the qualification itself. So what else are those really key skills, and how best can we support our students to develop them in conjunction, so that co-delivery with the sector. So whether that's through delivering careers masterclasses, setting live briefs for students, so they're actually having to work to an industry standard deadline and collaborate with colleagues from across different sectors. And I also think it's about how we collaborate across the college as well. As Russell said, you know, sometimes in education we can be guilty of working in silos, particular sort of industry sectors, and actually we've got to cut across all of those and look at that in a more matrix format to give all of our students the opportunity to really think about the film and TV sector. And then I think we're opening a brand new campus in the heart of High Wycombe over the next couple of years. So actually what I'm looking for is employers to help work with us to make sure that we're designing facilities that really will be future focused and meet those requirements going forward. So
amazing.
Working with employers in lots of different aspects.
Yeah, okay, incredible, thank you. And Sunny, how about you? ITV Academy, what does that look like for the next year for you? Or do you think we'll have resolved the skills shortage by that point?
I believe
all down to us here, obviously.
I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but we're certainly putting the foundations and the things in place to be able to take steps towards it. And I think we're all doing it as broadcasters, as you know, as content creators and as industry. I think we're all doing our bit. I think we are working collaboratively as well. I mean, we fed into we were part of the BFI task force. So yeah, I think we are doing our bit, but there's going to be. Look, it's a great industry to work in, right? And there's so many people here and part of the university and part of universities up and down the country that want to be part of the industry. And I've been in the industry over 20 years and it's a great industry to work in. So do I think we're going to solve it? No. But do I think we've got the correct foundations and building blocks in place to solve it? Yes.
Okay, that's sounding positive. And so how about you from a BFI perspective?
I mean, I'd probably agree with that. I mean, I've been doing skills work for a very long time, and we've still got some of the same issues now that we had 20 years ago. But there's definitely movement, and what I'm certainly seeing is, and Jackie touched on it earlier, a much clearer and much bigger commitment from the industry itself to also get involved in tackling the skills issues, and I think that's pretty crucial alongside working with education. So I think we're getting there. Is it realistic to address all of our skills gaps and shortages within 12 months? Probably not.
No,
but
I was pushing it, wasn't I?
but we'll have a go.
Yeah. It sounds like the foundations.
Yeah, I think, absolutely.
Yeah. And how about from Warner's perspective, Jackie? What does the next 12 months look like?
Next 12 months, so really getting Career HQ properly established, getting the new entrant programme up and running, doing more careers days and improving that outreach that Sunny touched on, and sort of making sure that more people know about these roles and where to get them. So yeah, it's just to keep building, keep consolidating, keep responding as well actually to what industry needs.
Yeah, because that's going to change. Like, we've solved production accountancy tonight, like we've done that. So it's going to be a different one in 12 months' time.
Yeah. So it's important to keep it like adapting, responding and trying to make a difference.
I think we'll come to some questions in the audience if that's okay. Oh yes, there's one over there and there.
You mentioned about production finance rather. Might be a slightly tougher sell to some of our creatively minded students on film and TV courses. So we're putting some work, or about to start some work, around the role of production coordinator, which I think you've just alluded to, Sonny. But I just wanted to get your viewpoint on that particular role, junior production coordinator.
Well, if I could just actually respond initially to the production finance question, and that is actually, okay, so initially when you're in the lower ranks it is quite repetitive and it's very administrative and it's a lot of Excel, but as you move up through the ranks and get to sort of finance controller, production accountant, finance controller sort of level, you are then working with the creatives, you're then the enabler. You're then the paper, they come to you and they want to create a certain scene, or they need some more money to do a certain whatever. You're the person who can try and make that happen. So you work very closely with the creatives to make their vision come to life.
I can see that as a really rewarding role, but I think when students come on initially, they're coming on for creative, they're coming on for editorial production roles. So
yeah,
that
I just wanted to just
no, but I get your
point
point,
to the production finance,
yeah.
but I don't know if you want to talk about the production coordinator.
Well, can I just come back on your point there, if that's okay? Because I think part of the challenge that we have when we look at trying to support people into an industry, and particularly when we talk about the creative industries, is that we believe that every job is creative. Actually, almost 50% of the jobs right across the creative industries, not just in screen, are classed as non-creative occupations, but they are fundamental to creative outputs and creative content happening. So for me, I think there's a huge task of work in us placing value on and celebrating the fact that this industry also happens because of a whole host of non-creative people, if we want to brand them in that way. And they're really important and they should be valued. So I don't think the task of work here personally is to get people who want to do something creative to move into something that is classed as a non-creative occupation. I think the task of work is to find people who might be passionate about accountancy or be interested in accountancy and recognise that they can learn and apply that skill in a slightly different way within the creative sector and in the screen sector.
Production management is such a key role.
Yeah.
You know, I started in that role and I didn't realise how key it was to the whole production, to the smooth running of the production. And you learn so much so quickly as well, because you're almost learning other people's jobs at the same time. And schedules, you know, overrunning are so expensive. You know, so having a really good production coordinator and a good production manager team is vital to the success of a programme.
We're out of time, but I just...
Oh,
go on, you've got one question. Go on, last question. Go for it.
I just had a question. I'm Owen. I'm from a production company in Cube and a virtual production studio. And I just had a question around, we've spoken a lot about TV and film, and I just wondered what role that shorter form, be it advertising, maybe even music videos, can play in this exposure to a plethora of different job roles and different skill sets that are involved in the industry, being short form and being lots of quick things and quick turnarounds. I wonder what that can play in the industry.
Actually, a lot of the talent that we support through our film fund, which is either, it's sometimes short film, but sort of our independent feature film, a lot of that talent actually has potentially or usually started in something like music videos, advertising and short film. It's a really important place for people to gain a whole range of skills to then progress into feature film making. We see that a lot. I don't know if that helps really, but we definitely see that, and I think we should talk about that more.
Yeah, I just wonder what can be done to make that easier. I think it's almost like we say, it's a connection and it's a point of experience, and for us it's what we've done is expose people to a lot of different parts of production, as we feel that exposure is so important at the beginning so that people can just see what they like. Because some people, like, you don't know what food you like until you try it.
Yeah.
So
I think that comes back to the collaboration point as
It
well,
does.
doesn't it? I think we've seen film and TV be so segregated historically, and we're seeing that merge now.
Yeah.
And that's the same from advertising and music as well. Like there is definitely starting to be more crossover, but I think you're right, we absolutely need to be working more collaboratively together.
We do, and it's interesting actually, because I was speaking to Universal Music recently, who, you know, they're crying out for sound engineers in the same way that we are, and yet we haven't joined up a conversation about how to just train sound engineers that can work right across, and it's sort of ridiculous. The core of the skills are the same. So, yeah.
Something that we need to do better at. Well, look, thank you so much, all of you. It's been a totally inspiring session, and thank you for your time. And yeah, it's been brilliant. Please give them a round of applause. And Stephen Stewart, who's the Vice Chair for the RTS, is going to wrap up for us. Thanks, Stephen.
Thanks, Carrie. Yeah, I'm Vice Chair of the Technology sector, and I just wanted to say, round off the evening with a proper thank you to everybody, to Russell, and to Jackie, and to Sarah, and Jenny, and Sunny. It's fascinating to get everyone together, and I think hopefully it's the start of a conversation about collaboration between education and industry. And of course, Carrie, thank you for guiding us through it for the evening and getting us to a point where the conversation can carry on. And plug for the Royal Television Society. We talked about mentoring. Royal Television Society, it's free to join for students. So any students, either in the room or online, it's free to join. There are mentoring schemes, there's bursary schemes. And finally, this wouldn't have happened. We've been talking about the skills in the industry. This wouldn't have happened if it wasn't behind all the behind-the-scenes people. Probably 20 people. Everything you've seen tonight has been crewed by students. So there are 20 people, sound, camera, we've got 5 cameras, lighting, floor managing, vision mixing, directing, all those skills. Look at the end credits when you see it. And that's just on this one reasonably simple production. So the future is bright.